The reality is brutal. But now, if not a blank slate, there's at least a chance for change in Syria. Women like Dima Musa are demanding it. She's part of what these women say is a first for Syria, a feminist women's political movement. We spoke in Istanbul.
There are different types of women in Syrian society. There are women who wear hijab, women who don't. A lot of women have professional careers, and some are stay-at-home mothers and wives. But for a lot of us, our mothers and grandmothers had careers, had college degrees, they worked outside the house.
Syria's opposition feminists say they want women of all political backgrounds to have at least 30% of the seats at the negotiating table.
You know, there are going to be people who say, men who say, this is not the time, there are too many other issues to focus on, this just isn't the time.
Now is always the right time to do everything. If we wait until the negotiations are over and then we're starting everything from zero, it's going to be a lot harder.
Musa moved to the U.S. when she was 14. Long before the war, it was dangerous for people like her parents who didn't openly support the government.
What do you say to people who might say you don't belong at the table, not because you're a woman, but because you've been away from Syria, outside of the country for so long?
Well, as women everywhere in the world, we know what it's like to be a woman trying to live in and work in politics or even in the professional world. But as Syrian women, I think we also have that from our environments, whether they are inside Syria or they've been transported somewhere else. But also a large portion of the women in the movement are actually from Syria, and most of them have recently left Syria.
Why do you think you have to fight just to get a place at the negotiations?
Traditional roles, and I think in times of war this is even, it gets, it's more so because you have a lot of the violence that's happening, and a lot of times men think that this is not the place for women. They need to protect them. But I don't think there's an excuse at all for the political bodies to not have the women representatives.
The UN's Syria envoy created a special advisory group for Syrian women. Good intentions, bad execution, these Syrian feminists say, that pushes women to the margins of the conversation.
There is always an attempt to push back. There's always an attempt to sort of marginalize what you say and what you do. And unless you sort of stand there and make sure that, no, this is what I believe, and this is what I think is true. You know, you have to also support other women. Women need to support each other more.
But how do you go about bringing all of the different factions in Syria together? It's not just about the opposition and the government anymore.
We are very committed to equality. Of course, equality between men and women, and equality between or among all components of the Syrian population. It is very important to have that codified.
What still binds you to Syria after all this time?
This is a really tough question. A lot of people ask me that because for me it's been almost 25 years since I've left Syria, and I was a kid when I left. I think it has a lot to do with probably the upbringing, the sense that we didn't leave Syria happy. Nobody leaves their country and goes somewhere completely new, a new language, a new culture, because they want to. Most of the time they're forced to. And having had the chance to live somewhere where I had all the freedoms that you have in most Western countries, I thought that, you know, Syrians deserve that too.
It's emotional.
It is. It is. We happened to live in a building that had 16 units, and every unit had a family that came from a completely different background. You had people who were way far left to people who are so religious they've probably gone to Hajj 5 times. But everybody got along so well, and I felt like we're all Syrians. I never thought that this family is Christian, this family is Alawite, this family is Sunni. So I think that feeling always comes back to me.
And you see that for its future now?
I see that for its future.
Is it possible?
Everything is possible.